mission trip to Costa Rica with our brothers and sisters in Christ in Cartago, and especially Pastor Edmundo there. So I was only just one part of the team. Of course, you already know PJ, Jack, yes, and Gabrielle, Gigi, and Roy, Desi. He looks like Desi Arnaz, so that's why we did that one. So, yeah. So it's so wonderful to be able to share with you the great work that our Lord is doing. Oh, and I was called Cuello, which means collar, because a few days I wore a collar while I was there and while we were out and about, and so, yeah. Yes, we're so glad that we can share with you the opportunity and the urgency to continue and deepen our partnership in Costa Rica. But we have some more people who are going to explain a lot of great things about our time there. So I think, Desi, are you up first? Oh, okay.
I got to get my notes out here. Is this working? Yes, it is. Buenos dias, amigos. Those are the three words I actually learned. So my wife has given me signals already, okay? Okay. First, I'd like to thank everybody for the opportunity for us to go to Costa Rica. We had a wonderful time. We met some great people. We met a lot of people in the mission there, and we had a great time. And the presentation, we enjoyed our trip, and we thank you for that, because we wouldn't have done it without the support of the congregation. And I'm glad to be able to share a little bit of that with you, a very little bit. Our overview of the presentation. First, I'm going to talk a little bit about, I have the boring part. I'm going to talk about the country, the geography, the history. I think it's about 30 minutes. No, not quite. But I hope you enjoy it. And other folks are going to talk about LCC in Costa Rica and our week there and the mission opportunities, and maybe a few stories might be shared as we go along too. My presentation is quite short, so I thought I'll share one story with you that it's a little funny, actually. It was funny for us. It was strange. And I don't know if they remember, but I think they would remember. Anyway, we just got off the airplane and we drove a couple hours to our site up on the hill. And we stayed at a little villa that overlooked the city of San Jose. It was beautiful. It was nighttime. We were tired. We'd been on the go for about 16, 18 hours, so we kind of sat down, lounged around, and we started talking. We had having a great time. And all of a sudden, we could hear the birds and the animals in the background. It was kind of neat. Not a lot of animals, but a little bit. But anyway, then all of a sudden, we heard this talking and this joking going on. We couldn't figure out what was going on, and looked over, and we saw these two lizards in the corner, and they were talking, telling jokes, standing up on their hind legs. It was absolutely, I mean, that's funny in itself. But anyway, we couldn't figure out what was going on, so we called Jose into the room, into the den, and said, "Jose, what is this?" He was our translator, by the way, and our driver. And he said, "Oh, those aren't lizards. Those are, what they are, they're stand-up comedians." Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, well, that's it. The biggest groan came from my wife, so. Anyway, let's get on with the presentation, okay? Quick as possible. I was going to rip that joke up. I won't use it again, so. Okay. Anyway, it's not moving. Okay, I need young people to help me with this. And these are young people, believe me. Okay, first of all, let's talk a little about our first slide. I'll get rid of this note because I don't think I'll need that joke ever again. I got rid of the wrong page. Okay, first of all, talk about the location. I think most people know where Costa Rica is, but if you don't, it's in Central America, and you can see on the slide there that the capital city is starred. It's San Jose. And Costa Rica was discovered by Christopher Columbus on his fourth voyage to the Americas in 1502, September, I believe was the time. but it got its name from Costa Rica. He named it himself. It means rich coast. And the reason why he named that, he saw the natives and they were wearing, the women were wearing gold bracelets and jewelry. So he thought it was a rich country in that respect. It wasn't. It was really not much gold there. It's rich in many other areas, but it was not. It was so, that's how it got its name. Oh, I have to touch that one. The population of Costa Rica is about 5.2 million people, and about 100,000 of those are indigenous people. Most of the indigenous people live in the mountain area or the hill area. We didn't. I think we saw a few, but there weren't a lot around that we saw. And someone's going to ask me this question: the religion that's going to be asked. Most of the religions in South America and Central America is Spanish, of course. It's 48% Catholics, 20% are evangelicals and Pentecostals. I got these statistics from a book, so I don't know how accurate they are now. And Jehovah's Witnesses is about 1.4%, and other Protestants are 1.2%, with about 27% that don't have a religion. Talk a little bit about the flag. The flag has been changed several times. The flag we're looking at here is the state flag. It's used in government buildings and well, just for the government. It's only allowed to be used in the government. If you see a flag flying on a church, it's the same flag except it does not have the coat of arms on it. So there's really kind of two flags. I don't think I even saw that flag. I don't think we saw any government buildings, but evidently that's what flags. We saw on a couple of churches the normal flag, or they call it the civic flag. No. I got it, good. So now on that coat of arms, on that flag, it kind of explains a little bit about the country. It's very representative of the country. In fact, there's a lot of symbolism in this coat of arms. And first of all, Costa Rica, the official name of Costa Rica is the Republic of Costa Rica. I don't think I've ever heard anyone say that, but that's the official name. So you see that at the top, and you see the 7 stars are up there. They represent the 7 provinces, kind of like our states, star states. They have stars in their flag. And the 3 volcanoes represent the 3 mountain ranges in Costa Rica. There's the volcanic ranges, actually, what they are. And then we have, you see a little, before the mountains, the green spot, that's just the plains and the jungles, or I guess the rainforest that you'll see. And of course, the ocean on this side it's not an ocean, it's Caribbean Sea. And on the back part is the Pacific. And those little circles represent coffee beans, evidently. I don't know if coffee beans are shaped like that, but that's their cash crop in one of the cash crops that they have in Costa Rica. Okay, we talked a little bit about the mountain ranges. There they are there. They have about 100 volcanoes in Costa Rica, and I think about 8 of them are active. Not overly active right now, but they're active. We were going to go to one of those on the last day, but there was another eruption of sorts that happened back at the hotel, so we didn't go there. So, that being said, let's move on.
It wasn't me.
Okay. Well, you had a bad eye, too. She got stung by, we'll say a spider or mosquito, but her eye swelled up quite a bit, too, so there's 2 reasons we couldn't go. We didn't see eye to eye at that time. So. This slide represents probably the terrain of the country. Excuse me. Of course, the mountain range goes down the middle, and the coastal areas on the Pacific as well as the Caribbean side are beaches, and they move into rainforests and tropical areas and that sort of thing as we go up. We, I guess I could say on this, we stayed right in that Well, I think I have another slide that would tell me. Oh, by the way, that area of volcanoes is part of the Pacific Rim of Fire, which extends from, I think, New Zealand all the way up, I think, somewhere around probably Japan, I'm not sure. Is that correct? Okay. Is it the whole world? Oh, yeah. That's not Pacific. Okay. Okay, the whole world, but I don't know the Pacific Ocean. Anyway, figure that one out. Okay. Anyway, that's part of the Pacific Ring of Fire. This is my last slide, and this basically tells you where we landed, San Jose, and where we traveled to Cartago. San Jose is a city, but it's also one of the provinces, as you can see, and so is Cartago. And those are the areas. Probably we traveled only between those two dots, probably, and maybe a little bit around them. So we didn't get into the more touristy areas where the beaches or the rainforest. Or we didn't even get to that volcano, but we almost did. But about an hour and a half drive. Is that correct? It's about this far on the map, and about, I don't know. And it was interesting driving. It's a pretty area too, because we did see. We were in the valley. This is a plain area, not airplane, but plains. You know, actually there's an airport there too, so whatever. Now that being said, I think I've covered up my portion here. So I'm going to turn it over to, I believe Jack is going to take this away. I have a joke about Jack, but I'm not going to say it now. Goodbye.
Thank you, Roy. Okay, so I'm going to be talking about the history and how Pastor Edmundo came to Costa Rica and started a congregation. And so in 2005, Reverend Pedro Quintero of Nicaragua was called to serve and for many Nicaraguans in the Heredia region, as on the map above of San Jose. And after some time, he was succeeded by Pastor Edmundo, and he was ordained and called to Costa Rica in May of 2009. And Pastor Edmundo began his work in Cartago, and he expanded the Lutheran faith across communities in Cartago. Being the only Lutheran pastor in Costa Rica, progress came with many challenges, while being forced to move up to 6 times in an 11-year span. This is Pastor Edmundo's wife, Betty Rotana. She played a major part in the community and helped Pastor Edmundo connect with the people of Cartago who seek Lutheran faith. And this is, that's Pastor Edmundo right there, and where he's standing in front of is the church location that they use currently, and that's the car that he uses, purchased with the supporter from Holy Cross. And this is the inside of the current location, so it's pretty small, but it's nice and warm. And so, and I'm gonna give it over to Gabriella now.
So we had a few goals for our time there during the week, and the first of them was simply to meet the members of the church and members of the community, and to really nurture the relationship between the Lutheran Church in Canada and the Lutheran Church in Costa Rica. We also wanted to learn the needs of the congregation. We kept our eyes peeled for opportunities for Holy Cross and also for LCC in general to support the mission there. And we were also trying to lay the groundwork for future mission trips. When we landed, we met 2 very important people, Lisa Jackson and Jose. So Lisa is the managing director of the Lutheran Laymen's League of Canada. And she helped us prepare beforehand. She's been involved in mission trips in Nicaragua for many years, and more recently in Costa Rica. And she was the detail planner, the person who really was an amazing liaison for us. And for all you ladies who are thinking of attending the ladies' event later this month, she will be the keynote speaker. You really should attend, she's great. And we also met Jose, who was our driver. He is a member of the Lutheran Church in Nicaragua and has been driving Lisa during her mission trips for many years, and the two of them were just huge blessings to us. We left the time we really loved them. They were absolutely incredible and really helped us to be able to prepare our mission trip and prepare for future mission trips.
Now, be honest though, Gabrielle. Were you more comfortable with Jose driving the whole time or me on that last day? I mean,
no offense. So this is us on our first day. Yes, we...
So it was me then?
With most of us, and Lisa and Jose, el mejor conductor, the best driver. And on our first day in Cartago, we met with Pastor Edmundo and with some other members of the congregation, as well as Diego, who is one of our translators. He is on the right in the orange shirt. The next day, we met Julian, who is a contractor who will be overseeing the construction project of the church building in Cartago. And we reviewed building plans with him. It was mainly Roy doing the reviewing of building plans with him. And then we headed to the site. So it is a much better location. It's a corner lot that's pretty accessible. There is a residential area nearby, some offices, there's a high school across the street, and a university campus a stone's throw away. And while we were there, Julian was showing us the different possibilities of layouts for a church building. And we spent some time there trying to understand the layouts, and then also spent some time in prayer that God would bless this endeavor and that this location would be a place for people to hear his word in the future.
Gabrielle? Can you tell them where the building would be in relation to maybe the bottom left?
Yes, so in the bottom left, we are facing an empty lot that is where the church will be constructed. And then to our right, you can just barely see one of the streets. And then behind us, where our backs are, is another street. So it's on the corner. And in the bottom right picture, you're seeing the neighboring lot, which is also vacant. The next day, we were graciously welcomed into the home of Doña Carmen, who's in the navy and white blouse at the front of this picture with her family. Her son had recently died, and Pastor Edmundo was paying a visit to her, and she had asked that we come along. And Pastor Rogo and Pastor Edmundo shared some words of comfort with her, and we spent some time praying with her. And you'll hear more about her a little later, but she was just so gracious to welcome us at such a time. So, some other things we did during the week. Pastor Edmundo owns a secondhand bookstore, and this is a place where he has made connections between the community and the church. So we visited there, and you can see us outside, and on the bottom picture, we're inside the shop. And one of the people who he connected with was one of our translators, Diego. So at the top, you see Sebastian, who was a translator also for us. He is Pastor Edmundo's nephew, and he is with Diego, who is one of the people he connected with at the bookstore. In the top right corner is Enrique. We met with him he is a missionary with Christ for the City International, and we discussed the potential of him working both in translation and driving for future mission trips, along with his daughter who works doing Spanish to English translation professionally. And in the bottom right corner, you heard it's a very Roman Catholic influenced country, and you can see the Basilica in Cartago, a very beautiful building, and Pastor Edmundo and Diego were teaching us the history of the country, particularly the history of the church in Cartago, and gave us a little tour.
So is Enrique's mission affiliated with the Catholic Church?
No.
No.
It's Christ for the City International, so it's not any particular denomination.
Non-denominational mission in the country.
And here you'll recognize, well, by now you should recognize both faces, Pastor Edmundo and Pastor Rogo.
This is a staged photo, right? It's like dark, light. Like you guys are twins.
And Pastor Edmundo spent some time sharing with us the needs that he sees and that he's seen over the years in Cartago, and his vision for the future, the young people that he thinks can be leaders for the church in the future, and the ways that help is needed. Now, of course, we had to take in some of the beautiful scenery of Costa Rica, and so we made a drive through the Orosi Valley, and were treated to some parrots singing in the trees, some beautiful flamboyant trees with bright red and orange flowers. No. It was absolutely beautiful. And on Saturday, we joined the worship service. It was held on Saturday because there was an election on Sunday. And beforehand, we spent some time learning some hymns and songs in Spanish so that we could join in with the congregation. And it was a kind of bilingual service with Pastor Rogo preaching in English and Diego, you can see, translating his sermon sentence by sentence as he went. And it was just a lovely time to spend worshiping with the congregation, and then later we joined them in their fellowship hour. So now we're going to introduce you to some of the people we met during the week.
Before we get to some of the people, is that how we do it? How do we go back? There? Oh, there. There, okay. Before we get to there, first, do you have any questions so far on some of the things? Is this for Roy or for, no, just kidding.
I wonder what that big white building was near the lot that they're building the church.
So, yeah, it's just a side wall of a home.
Oh, it is, okay.
Yeah. So basically that the church building will go right up against that wall. And then if you can see, we're standing on this sidewalk, which you can then see in the top right corner. And so then they'll have a retaining wall that they'll build near the sidewalk right there as well. That will go along the edge of the sidewalk for the property too. So this is their first church building that they would have. They've just been renting small spaces and moving a lot. So, yeah.
Do you know approximately the size of the congregation? And my second question was, is there a relationship then between the Lutheran Church and Nicaragua and Costa Rica? Then? How does that? You're saying
Yeah.
one person was actually part of the Nicaraguan Lutheran Church that you had met or something.
The size of the congregation, they're quite small. I would say, they're probably with all the people connected, around 50 or so people. On that Sunday, there were just, or we were there on Saturday, so I think that affected things as well. I think it was more so around 20 maybe, or something. Something like, is that about an accurate, something like that? So, yeah, the moving, each time they move, they gain people from that neighborhood, but they lose people from the other neighborhood. And what we didn't say is Cartago is heavily Roman Catholic. I mean, the Costa Rica in a majority, but Cartago in particular as a even greater Roman Catholic influence. So that nice, beautiful basilica there in Cartago was one of the places that we visited as well.
Just real quick, all the tourists seem, everybody's like, to the extreme.
So we traveled, in the coldness of winter, January 30th to February 6th. I don't. Do you remember wearing your parkas or warm winter jackets? I want to describe the weather.
Temperature's 27 degrees almost all year during winter degrees. It's a very, you don't know winter from summer except it rains in the winter. So, and that's a big difference.
Although the week that we were there, it was a little more mild, high teens, low 20s.
We were able to survive. It was yeah.
I forget what the temperature was.
Nope. But what Roy's saying is true, that in summer the temperature doesn't get that much hotter, just maybe 2 degrees.
We're talking about the mountains here. Okay, so.
Yeah. And the elevation was a little under 5,000 feet in Cartago. Yeah.
I was just wondering, so you mean they own the land right now, that we have helped them, or LCC helped them purchase this land?
Yes.
And so now they're helping them build this church. It looks like a lovely property, so are they gonna build a place for, Pastor Armando and his family to live there? Like, are they gonna, like, I was just curious, the plans to build this church, is it gonna include like a kitchen and maybe the bookstore? And I was just wondering.
Yes, well, we have a slide that talks a little bit more in detail about their building, although I will say it doesn't at this time include like a parsonage or something, but yeah.
The vacant lot next to the property, they're inquiring about that as to whether that might be able to be purchased too, and that would be one wonderful way to use that property as a home for Pastor Edmundo or future pastors, or maybe visiting pastors or missionaries that come by, and different things like that. So they're hopeful but they're not quite sure. Contacting people, it's not the same as public record here, and sometimes contacting people is also culturally different. Contacting people, whereas here you'd say, okay, who owns that? What do we need to do? There, it's not quite as forward with people doing that. Jane? Okay.
After the church is built, would they use it for other community things, or would this be closed all week? Like, is there an opportunity to bring people in for other events, or I don't know? There must be needs though there that perhaps like health needs, or I'm just wondering how they might.
Currently, the space that they're using, they do have young adults throughout the week that come in and meet together. Certainly that's something that they would want to continue, especially being so close to the university. There is the opportunity there in particular.
Sometimes you need to make relationships in other ways before you can get them to come to church or get them interested. And I just wondered.
Yeah, and Pastor Edmundo, through his used bookstore, has met a lot of young people and kind of is leading discussion groups. Pastor Edmundo is a known poet in Costa Rica. He's a really talented man, and so he is leading discussion groups with young people, and And that's one of the ways that he's been connecting to people as well. Any other questions so far? Yeah, Mabel.
I only mentioned about building a place for the pastor because you had mentioned he moved 6 times. Is that because?
The church building, like where they're renting space.
Sorry, not him.
No, no. Yeah, then he should have opened up a moving company if he was doing that. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I thought he had to also.
No, no.
Oh,
Thankfully, no.
yeah, okay.
Yes, your name? No, go ahead.
You didn't answer Brian's question about the relationship between Nicaragua and Costa Rica.
Oh, I should? Okay, so, sorry, Brian. I will try not to ignore you next time. So, yes, Nicaragua, you can notice that the first pastor in Costa Rica was from Nicaragua, and that was in 2005. And so his, the connection was all these Nicaraguan refugees coming into Costa Rica, and the history of the church in Nicaragua, which LCC has a very close relationship with, and some of you have been on mission trips to Nicaragua there. And so that close relationship then, and the refugees going to Costa Rica is what initially spurred the mission into Costa Rica. But there were no Lutheran pastors in relationship with Lutheran Church Canada beforehand. There's another Lutheran church body in Costa Rica, which is small, but also that we're not affiliated with and have that relationship with. So Pastor Edmundo is the only Lutheran pastor in Costa Rica that is affiliated with Lutheran Church Canada or the LCMS in the States or anything. So it's really getting at the ground work of the mission there, and because they've moved so many times too and haven't had their own building, they continue to make progress in one neighborhood, but then also move regularly as well. So there's a very big connection. In fact, the property is in the name of, that they've purchased is in the name of the business administrator from Nicaragua, who was just there last week signing all the final documents to get things going on building the church building as soon as possible. Any other questions? All right. Well,
Fast forward.
we're going to fast forward a little bit here to a few people in particular. So Sophia, we met on the first day when we arrived, and Sophia came to the mission in Cartago with Pastor Edmundo when she was about 6 years old, all by herself, no other family. And so she, and you can imagine most 6-year-olds do that here too, right? What a brave and inquisitive little girl. So now Sophia brings her mother and her sister, and her older sister and her children, her younger sister, and I think there were cousins, as well that came. So, and she's now a young lady and has expressed some interest in how can I be involved in the ministry of the church as well, and so there could be opportunity to help people like Sophia learn more about, do some theological training, and perhaps maybe be a deaconess someday. But it's wonderful to meet her and her family. I think we've got Danya Carmen. What a nice lady. Jack's going to talk to you about that.
Okay, so as Gabrielle talked about before, Danya Carmen was a very nice lady. So a few days into the mission, there was a night when we were kind of confused because a lot of trucks, or there was a long road behind the hotel where we stayed, and a lot of trucks just kept honking their horn for like an hour. It was really weird. It was really loud too. So that left us very confused. And so later on in the week, we ended up meeting Doña Carmen through Pastor Edmundo, and so when we went to her home, she explained to us how she recently lost her son, and so she told us a story about how her son was a former truck driver, and he passed away in a very unfortunate accident. And so many truck drivers, as a tribute, went out at night and honked their horn as a way of saying goodbye to their friend. And so it was really sad, and definitely touched people. It definitely touched us in our hearts. And she talked to us about how the last thing she said to her son was, "The Lord be with you." And so I think we can say with confidence that he may be in a better place now. And so,
Next is Priscilla. So Priscilla is another one of the young adults who we met in the congregation, and Pastor Edmundo had told us that on Sunday mornings when he gets to church, often Priscilla is already there before him. And lo and behold, on Saturday when we got to the church, even though we were about 2 hours early so that we could learn the hymns, Priscilla was already there. She was sweeping the floor. She was setting up the chairs to be there long before anyone else had arrived. And she is another person who is interested, has a desire to serve in the church, potentially as a deaconess in the future.
And then there's Diego. Well, there's a few Diegos, actually. Did you see the good-looking young guy playing the guitar in the photos? That's Diego, Pastor Edmundo and Betty's son. And so he played much better than I did this morning. It was really fun to listen to him play the hymns on guitar. Even the basilica that we visited, when we went by, they were having Mass. And you didn't hear the pipe organ blaring away. There aren't a lot of pipe organs there. No, it was being led by someone who was on microphone with guitar as they were singing the hymns in this huge basilica. And so, so Diego, the other Diego led via guitar, and it was beautiful. The liturgy, too, it was really, really quite nice. But this Diego was our translator for most of the time, and it's hard for me to not think of that show I watched with my kids with cartoons and Diego the whole time. But I didn't mention it to him. He's a really wonderful young man. He comes from a strong Roman Catholic family, and he is one of those guys who Pastor Edmundo has met at his bookstore, and inviting them to have these conversations where they just talk about different things, philosophy and other things, and so he met him there, and over the course of time, Diego has come to translate when groups come to Costa Rica, to Cartago, and he translated for me while I was preaching, and it was really interesting because while I was preaching, Diego and you can see, we sat down afterwards next to each other, and I think I heard his brain going, because I think he was just thinking over so much of what he had just translated and said to the people. And so, Diego hasn't exactly expressed interest that he wants to be a pastor. He's still a Roman Catholic family, but I can see the Lord, we could see the Lord working through the Word of God with him, and it has over the years, and could see him as possibly a future pastor there, or even Pastor Edmundo's son, Diego, as well. You don't have to be named Diego to become a pastor in Costa Rica. But between them and some others there, we realized that there is good hope for the future, even through this small number of people that have been gathering in Cartago to rejoice in God's word for them. Now I'll let Gabrielle. It's me? Oh, the next one. Okay, sorry. I thought it's after that. Yeah. So, what are their hopes? Pastor Edmundo said basically two things are key for them. One is theological training for future pastors and for deaconesses, and how that can be accomplished. So for those of you who've been to Nicaragua or know about the mission there, there's a mission training center there. There's a mission center there. And they gather the pastors and the deaconesses there a couple times a year. And a pastor from LCC will come down to there and teach a class for a week, and they'll come and learn there. So there's an opportunity for future pastors and deaconesses to go there to learn for a week. But we realize also there's some cultural differences. So hopefully we can help bring those things together and encourage more and more people from Costa Rica to come and do training there. Also, though, Costa Rica is, it's a very, it's not some third world country where people are all in great need. As we're driving around, most of the cars we would just see on our streets. I think it was pretty much.
We went to the mall. There's an Old Navy. There's a lot of the brands that you recognize here. We saw there. So yes.
Devils at work in Costa Rica.
Curious against Old Navy. Okay, all right. So, just kidding. So, so the homes were nice too. The cost of everything in Costa Rica, similar to in Canada. You're not going to save a bunch of money by buying something there as opposed to here. Costs are quite similar. In Nicaragua, though, they've had a much more difficult political landscape for decades. And so they've suffered through a lot more there. But the Lord has been very gracious to raise up His church and pastors and people and congregations and mission places just sprouting up just year after year after year in Nicaragua. And so we pray the Lord will bring about that same growth in Costa Rica, and with an opportunity to do online theological teaching as well, because anyone in Costa Rica doesn't have much of a problem getting online and joining and teaching there as well. So there's great
How big is the Nicaraguan church then, like the Lutheran church? You're saying congregations and...
So that's a really good question. This rough estimate, I want to say there are 20 to 30 pastors. That's my guess. Something like that. Pastor Ashley's nodding, giving a thumbs up. And about that many deaconesses. So like when teams go down there, like for instance, Lisa Jackson, she loves mission trips so much, she went to Nicaragua first and did a mission trip there, then came to Costa Rica. And in Nicaragua, she said, we could have used 8 pastors on our most recent trip because they were doing 8 VBSs at 8 different sites simultaneously. So that is not the case. And in Costa Rica, it's going to be a 1 VBS at a time, right, to kind of as things get moving and once their building is built. So, and the second way, too, is then the biggest need that they have is building their first church, building their church home. So having, not only this beautiful building and sanctuary to worship, but an office and classrooms and an opportunity to reach out to the community with programs. There still is a neighborhood, of course, there as well where people are more in need. It's not too far from the church where the church will be built, so there's good access to bring people to the church that they can provide for their needs as well. And perhaps even if they're able and they find out that vacant lot next door might be a possibility to expand as well. But Gabrielle will tell you a little bit more about Jack, PJ, will tell you a little bit more about how we can partner together with this mission in Costa Rica.
Hello. Okay, there we go. So as a congregation, I know we all are wondering in ways we can help, And so this is what, we've been supporting them for so long, and you guys still, I'm guessing until today, didn't know much about them. And so there's definitely ways in we can help, in which we can pray for them, and we can also have people participate, So as the church is being built, as their community grows stronger, we can go and, have VBS with their youth and just participate and have people go over like we did. And so Financially, as of right now, that's what the voters meeting. Yeah, the voters meeting in May. You could definitely find out more information on how to financially support them. But as for now, we can all pray and plan to participate in the future.
Yeah, we have a video with our correspondent, Gabrielle, and Pastor Edmundo and Diego.
Hello, Holy Cross family. I'm Gabrielle George, and I'm currently in Cartago, Costa Rica. I have to remember to say it correctly now. And I'm part of the 2024 mission trip from Holy Cross. I am here with Pastor Rogo, Jack Jewell, and Roy Sullivan, and I'd like to introduce you to some people we have been working with and spending time with here in Cartago. So here is Pastor Edmundo and our translator, Diego.
Nice to meet you.
So I'm really excited to tell you and have Pastor Edmundo share with you how God has been working through this mission and how you can help support the church here in Costa Rica. So first, Pastor Edmundo, how long have you been working here with this congregation?
Sí, yo fui ordenado en el 2009. He began in 2009 and
Voy a cumplir 15 años.
so 15 years in total.
And in that time, what are the needs that you've noticed that are here in Cartago?
¿Qué tipo de necesidades ha visto en
En la congregación o la gente de los ministros. Bueno, es un pueblo, Cartago es un pueblo con muchas problemáticas, con mucha necesidad de Dios en muchos aspectos, en la niñez, en las personas de tercera edad. Hay lugares donde hay mucha delincuencia, mucho consumo de drogas, y en general es una sociedad que manifiesta un gran vacío de Dios, una gran necesidad de Dios.
So in general, in young and old people, we can see a lot of drugs and violence, unfortunately, and a lot of emptiness in people looking for something else. They see that the drugs or the superficial part of life is not enough. They need a God, right? So that's his job.
And the needs of how can Holy Cross and people in Canada and the church in Canada support the church here?
They can
Bueno, hay dos grandes necesidades que las hemos estado conversando mucho en estos días con ustedes, que es el edificio, el poder contar con un local propio, ya que en el pasado anduvimos en muchos locales diferentes y eso afecta mucho que la iglesia mantenga su membresía. Entonces necesitamos un local, ya tenemos un terreno donado por la Iglesia de Canadá, y la otra ayuda es en la formación de líderes para la iglesia, especialmente en diaconado.
So the first one is being able to have a official church in Cartago, because in the past we had to move over and over. Right now we have the place, only the land, and in the future, maybe this year, we will have the entire building. So this will be a huge step for us. And the second one is the ability or the consistency forming leaders here in Cartago to be able to help in this church.
Debo agregar que tenemos las condiciones, la manera, la gente, como para formar un liderazgo verdaderamente compenetrado con el Evangelio.
And that they have the people that is needed for this taking action in particular. They have all that's needed. They just have to work on that.
Okay. So as you've heard, there's a lot of need here,
It was
and
sort of
we're looking forward to working together and sharing with you when we return the opportunities that we have to help the congregation here. Keep Pastor Edmundo and all of the members of this LCC mission here in Cartago in your prayers, and we look forward to sharing with you when we return. Muchas gracias. Adios.
Thank you.
Hello, Holy Cross family. I'm Gabrielle George, and
Let's just go.
to share with you when we came back. We really are. And as we said, please keep Pastor Edmundo in your prayers and the people of Cartago. And I'll end with the verse, Matthew chapter 9, verse 38. It says, "Pray earnestly to the Lord of the harvest to send out laborers into his harvest."
So perhaps one last question from Brian.
Sorry, yeah.
And you can see why we didn't learn much Spanish. Can you keep up with that? I mean, he's such a... No, that was fed up, right? Okay.
You mentioned potential retirement plans for Pastor Monk. So is how far away would those be? And of course, then you need, is there going to be someone to replace him when that happens?
He is thinking of that in the kind of long term. He's about 60, I believe.
He's almost 65,
Okay.
but he's not ready to retire right now.
63, I think.
Diego said he's about 65. So, yeah.
So, of course, having young people carry on the future of the church is very important for him, and that's one of the priorities that he talked about with us.
So there's a real urgency to train up these future pastors and deaconesses now for that and for the church building. And we know that your ongoing support already that's been giving has been a great benefit to them. And there is great opportunity now to support them next month. We'll make sure that you have all those details on how that can happen going forward as they put shovels in the ground, hopefully very, very soon, and maybe even before the close of the year, have their church building. Yes, so thank you so much. We're going to share if you have any questions, but too bad it's time for the 11 o'clock service. Why don't we close with singing the doxology together? Pray.